you?
No bad, no bad. 2 seconds to shut this all stuff down here. You alright?
Yes. It's raining
Yes.
today. It's like Scotland here, so it's a perfect day for an interview.
Well, it's actually sunny here today. So,
Are your kids still on holidays?
yeah, they go back on Tuesday.
Oh, look, I'm sorry to bother you this week, but I'm glad you have time. Thanks for this.
Cool.
I've just
Of
wanted
course.
to interview you for ages, Del, because you're doing something that is really nobody's doing as well that I can tell, and that's gathering together a group of people without fear or favor. And what I mean by that is like gathering people together, being polite and kind to everyone. I like the way you say everyone can set up their stall, but at the same time, everybody has to be able to be challenged on whatever it is they're bringing to the group. And so it's so hard to find a group of people to join to talk about the flat earth stuff because so many government agents infiltrate the scene, right?
Yeah.
So this is Del from Beyond the Imaginary Curve channel, everyone, and I've wanted to interview him for a while. I recommend his show highly, not as highly as I recommend his street interviews, because they're just fantastic. And the show is a little bit more for people who are already well into the program. And it has a lot of in-jokes between us and all that kind of stuff, so it's not as easy to share with a stranger. But your street interviews are amazing, so I'm glad to see you doing that. So,
Awesome.
Del, I want to know, how did you become a flat earther?
Oh, that's a bit of a label there. A
Oh,
flat earth.
sorry, you're right, yeah.
I know. Well, first I would have to say, flat earth, for anybody that's listening, flat earth for me is an ongoing investigation. It's not really a subscription to any particular model of flat earth. I can claim through physics and, natural science that we live on a level plane. The full dimensions obviously are unknown to me, so I'm always going to have to, put that out there before I go any further. How did I come to it? Pretty much the same as everybody else. I've always been a questioner, always looking for answers. Life never made sense to me, and in regards to the way we live life, right now, was never settled with anything. So it's always been an ongoing investigation. The last port of call before I came to flat earth was the realisation of philosophical materialism being the main push within science. So I started to kind of have, realisations about what was actually going on within the whole scientific community. Having to come up with explanations that fit, a certain philosophical stance, being materialism or physicalism, whatever anybody wants to term it as. So I started to realise, wait a minute, I've been following this narrative and I considered myself kind of scientific and probably atheistic in my thinking. I'd started to subscribe to, well, you know what, I can't make any sense of reality. This just seems to be the way. It seems to be an accident that nobody has any answer for. There is no intelligent design. I was starting to really subscribe to it until the realisation started to set in that what I'm actually following here is actually a religion in itself. Through looking at guys like Dawkins, Sam Harris, Lawrence Krauss, that kind of crowd, the scientists, and I started to break down what it was I was actually believing in. And that just kind of naturally led me on to, well, what else am I missing here? And a few things had been popping up. I think my mate Marty had mentioned flat earth, so it was kind of in my subconscious, but it was like the same as everybody else, like whatever, another crazy conspiracy theory and the whole shebang. And then I actually had like a dream one night that kind of stuck with me. I don't like getting into kind of metaphysical things because they're not scientific, there's nothing I can prove. But that's just my journey, that's my experience. People can take it whatever way they like.
Subjective experience is important, I'll always say that.
Yeah, definitely. So it was through that, and I think another flat earth thing appeared up. And I'm going, what is this? I'll have a wee look. But before that, I'm going to just go back in and make sure that, what is the globe and, what is it actually. I didn't actually fully believe that I lived on a globe, if that makes sense. I was never invested in it. It was just something I assumed to be true without any real investment in it. And I started to,
Can I interrupt? I was the
uh,
opposite. I was so invested in that globe. It literally took me, I was watching myself for at least a month or two, realizing how hard it was to not envisage the earth as a ball, so
yeah.
that's interesting. Sorry to interrupt. Go on.
No, you're all right. I mean, it was the same for me at the same time where there was certain things that I just took as a given. While I was doing my investigating, like the big bangs and stuff. Well, everybody's got that sorted out, so that must be true. I'll just try and, look through philosophies and different ideologies and see if I can find some answers myself. And as I say, it was that day, the flat earth thing came up, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to start having a look. But based on the dream I'd had,
Yeah, the dream.
the dream I had, it was involving a tsunami. And I had this, water thing going on in my mind. And as soon as the flat earth thing came up, it was the first thing I went, and I'm looking at the globe and I'm looking at the oceans and I'm going, right away the pennies are starting to drop. And I'm going, how can vast bodies of water be clumped to this globe? How can that be physically possible? And as soon as I started to type it, and I'm going, curved water and stuff, and as I was typing it, I'm going, I'm not going to find anything here. I'm not going to find anything. And as soon as I typed it in, flat earth came up. I think Eric Dubai, the 200 proofs, there was a couple of other things there, and I'm going, so I ignored that, and I just kept continuing on. I'm getting into fluid mechanics, I'm trying to find it. There was nothing. So then I went back to some of these videos and I looked at Eric's. No, in fact, I think the first one I came across was Matthew Powlin's This Crazy Notion.
Yeah.
So I had watched that, and within 5 minutes when he done the whole painting thing, the things just started to set in. And that was it. There was no looking back. But I never really followed any of these people or get too extensive into their work, because I was already on my own journey. And I thought that I understood science,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was the same. I was trying to avoid following anyone so badly that I didn't even look at Eric's work for like 6 months. Probably because I was turned off by some of the other people in the movement who I now regard as like agents. But yeah, I was really scared to look at Eric's work because everyone had told me, oh, Eric Dubay, 200 proofs, Eric Dubay. And I was like, this sounds like a fucking cult. What the fuck? And then after 6 months and getting a good grounding from lots of other people's little videos, when I watched Eric's 200 proofs, I was like, oh my God, why didn't someone give me this on week one? Would have been great. But whatever, it's funny how it's hard to take things in when your mind is closed to it. Can I ask you what your childhood upbringing was around these philosophies or sciences?
Nothing. My childhood was an emotional disaster. My parents were, they weren't really, what's the words, focused on, bringing children up properly. My mother was in a successful band. She was away touring Europe.
Wow.
And then they split when I was like 4.5 years old or something. So I was quite independent. I was being left here for 3 months with like different people, different members of family. So it was a pretty scattered childhood I had, to be honest with you.
So you didn't have your dad there with tennis balls and soccer balls on strings showing you how eclipses work in the current cosmological. Because that's what I had, and I'm thankful for that. But at the same time, it's really hard to go back and be like, "Oh, Dad."
I know.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry to hear that because it's a difficult time, but we all have difficult times no matter whether they're not there, they love us, they don't love us, it's still hell and heaven. But I'm glad for a sense that you got to like experience your own knowing, your own self. One of the best things my parents ever taught me was whatever you believe it. Like even if the whole school thinks something different to you, you can think whatever you like. And I remember being like 5 years old and being like, wow, like, is that really okay? Like if the whole school says one thing and I'm allowed to say that something else. So I've always kind of been like that. So I've seen some of, like, lots of your earlier videos, actually, and I like the way you started out, like you were just joking and making jokes because we're all in shock at the start. But now it's become a really serious, full-time, program of regular. I mean, I know you don't have to do it next week, and there's nothing set in stone, but you're regularly gathering with friends, like-minded people, professional people as well as lay people, like qualified people. A lot of people are still of the mindset, a lot of my friends are still of the mindset that flat earth is only for people who, are just dumb. People who stand on a beach and go, there's no curve, it's flat. It's like, no, we've done curvature tests, we've done months of research, we've had to debunk things that we already know. So
Yeah.
I guess I wanted to ask, when did you realize like this was what was needed, this kind of collective place for people to talk?
I realised it quite early on. I could see, obviously, I had to extensively, look into things myself. But I took a different approach. I wasn't just I'm going to look at these proofs and this proof and that proof. Because I'd already been bummed, if you like, by, as I say, philosophical materialism and realising that was the driving science. I then started to look at things like, well, what is science actually? Because we're just hearing science. So I started to study a wee bit, and I realised things like science is subdivisions, and you have like natural, formal, social science, and then what these different sciences entail. And then realising like, well, wait a wee minute, natural science is the real science for me. It's the one that depends on the empirical observations, the repeated testing. Claims must be observable, testable. You have to be able to recreate them. And if you don't, then they're no part of or any objective truth or part of objective reality. So early on, I realised there was a separation from mathematics and natural science, because obviously mathematics is a formal science. So I'm probably digressing in here.
No, I love this. You taught me this. Like, I've been alive 6 years, and you are the first person who actually showed me the differentiation between science as a language, maths as a language, natural science, repeatable, testable, observable science. That is the only way that we have found out the Earth is not a globe.
Yeah.
And everything else is conjecture from high priests that we are expected to swallow. We don't have the tools. So thanks for that. That's the best thing you've been teaching. And you do have to slam at home once or twice a week for hours to get it in your head, because we've had, like I say, decades of the conjectural, whatever religious crap that is settled science. And everybody's under it.
That's it. And that's exactly it for me. The scientific community that I understood then, they were going about bashing religions. And then I started to discover, no, hang on, you're actually, this is a religion, this materialism that I never really understood. And as I say, that was a huge realisation for me, that you have to separate, that they're using, that for me the religions never gave up control. People will accept and concede and say, the religion's controlled everybody, and they control society. And I say to them, well, do you really think they gave that power up? Or do you think maybe people were getting smart to it, and people were starting to, explore and want to understand the real world for themselves? And maybe they thought, well, we're going to need to kind of guide this. And for me, that's exactly what they've done. They took mathematics and they put that up there on a pedestal along with the mathematicians, and they made idols out of them. And it became this, whatever the mathematicians come up with, that's the be all and end all, that is the truth. But then I realised, wait a wee minute. If I then go to natural science, I'm looking for observable, measurable, testable, repeatable, and I go back over all this supposed learning that I thought I was doing in regards to the Big Bang and evolution and all these other things, and I go, where are the practical examples of these? Where is the actual substance that I can actually measure and observe and test? And straight away, it all just started to dissipate. Like, this is just fables. These are stories that they're putting out there.
At this point, you have a friend who jumps in and goes, my friend's cousin works on a site digging up ancient mammoth elephants in, Scotland. And you go, then the Earth must be a globe. Thanks. Sorry to interrupt. But that's the way it is, isn't it? It's like, I totally realised that, because I got brought up to ridicule religion. We ridiculed religion for no end in our house. And then when I was sort of 15, 16, when I started to take mushrooms at 18, I started to realize, oh, wow, like science, especially evolution, Darwin, I never could get into Darwin. Richard Dawkins always just turned my stomach, and yet my father and my brother are like evolutionists, like they love that stuff. They read it for breakfast, and it's been a lonely road because I kind of don't really want to argue with them because they're just going to use it as an opportunity to spool and spiel all of this passed down dogma that they've spent years memorizing.
See, well, that's the thing for me. I'm sure you've heard me saying this as well. It's not like I totally rubbish every aspect of evolution. There's things for me that we can actually observe, like adaptation. There is things that we can see in life, but when it comes to the full narrative of single-celled organisms appearing from fucking soup and then starting to morph into fish, and then that for me is just a fantasy, a total fairy tale, because that's not observable in reality anywhere. But they've managed to piece this.
Yeah, I have my own things with evolution as well. Like I know you can freeze a fish for months even, and it can be put in a bucket of water and come back to life. I know they're doing it with Disney's head. I know all sorts of things are potentially possible, but that cannot explain consciousness, the level of art, beauty, just even the complexity of nature and the intense, what's the word where everything meets each other's needs? Like, the word's gone from me, but
symbiotic.
Yeah, the fact that fruits are grown that perfectly match us, and we're all one, and our shit feeds the fruit tree, and it just cannot have just come from nothing. And an explosion, of course it can't have come from an explosion, because explosions destroy, they don't create. So,
They changed that from explosion to expansion. It was an infinitesimally small singularity that expanded, and it's still expanding. This is that they've now adapted the story.
When I was a kid, I had marbles, and some marbles looked like little earths, and I used to ask my dad, like, is this what was in the bucket? Like a tiny little beautiful marble, and then that exploded, and then I'd be like, who made the marble of stuff that blew out and expanded into us? So yeah, this is what I love hearing people challenging regularly, because I've never heard it in all my years.
Yeah, it's just been put out there and taken for granted that that's truth,
And so many men, just like men, I say men because women don't participate in this as much as they could. And men are at the forefront of thinking about all of this stuff officially more often than not. But the more I've studied this, the more I've realized nothing comes to us en masse unless it's through the Freemasons.
Right.
Do you have any friends who are Freemasons in Scotland?
No, I've known a few, who you say they're part of the Masonic groups and stuff, but never any kind of in-depth conversation. My awareness of people in like the social circles that I would be aware of, for me, it's like a club where they have wee perks and they have cheap booze and it's stuff like that. I mean, whatever goes on at the higher echelons of any kind of organisation, who knows what the real story is there. But no, I've never met anybody who's in any kind of prominent position.
And did you have brothers and sisters growing up?
Yeah, I've got a little sister. Yeah.
So you were the one that was supposed to be thinking through all this stuff to tell her when she had questions.
Well, yeah.
Was she smart in her own way?
Well, she kind of followed my mother's route. She became an entertainer, singer, and she wandered off into that path. Subsequently through that, she's went kind of spiritual routes of psychic mediums and all that kind of I call it hairy-fairy fucking nonsense.
Yeah.
I still commit to that because for me, none of these things, you never give me anything profound. It's always just the same bullshit that comes out of these people's mouths.
No. I got to stop you for 1 second. I raised rationalists. I always felt that, and I went to 20 mediums in 20 years because I was doing scientific experiments. and 17 times I wasted my money. It's the same average as haircuts or massages. You know, 17 times out of 20, you're going to get shit, and you're going to get an ugly haircut or a bad massage, or just a lazy person, or someone who's learning, or someone who's pretending or faking it till they make it. But you go to 20 mediums over the next 20 years, and I am sure that you will have something to blow your head open, because I did, and like I said, that's just subjective. I can't pass it on. The only thing I can do is tell you that I came at it from that open-minded perspective, looking into it, and I connected with the dead a few times. But it's not controlable. Are you still there? You look like you're frozen. Oh, no.
No,
So having said that, the majority of them are charlatans or trying to make it work or whatever. But some people actually are gifted, I don't believe, I know, from my personal subjective experience.
Well, you know, I'll concede that. You know, there is people that I have met. You know, there's certain things that I can't explain. But my questions, I've always got questions for them. And hypothetically, if we say, well, these people are in touch with something, maybe there's spirits, maybe there's entities. I mean, I don't know. My question is then, well, if I'm having these realizations about something being seriously off with this world, and we're being lied to en masse about where we actually live, not once have I ever heard any medium or any of these so-called psychics having a message of, by the way, there's a huge deception happening here on Earth. You better start telling people that. It always seems to be like psychologist type stuff, you know, like stuff just that you need to hear in order to just keep you going within the cultural program or whatever it might be.
I know it can seem like that, and because there are a lot of charlatans practicing cold reading and stuff, you do see a lot of that. But I implore you, just keep your mind open, and if one comes before you on the street sometime and it feels right, then, you know, spend $20, $50, whatever, and go and try it out, because it is such an unexplainable phenomenon. I'm going to send you a video of one of my favorite ones. She's a young girl. She's called Monica the Medium. She's about 20 years old, she's in college, and she does it all day long, wherever she is, at the supermarket, at the beach. And her mother didn't even believe she could do it, her sisters didn't believe she could do it, but she's been developing, and she's really interesting. So I'm going to send that to you. But anyway, I don't want to make you sound like an idiot by talking about...
No, I mean, my mind, you would know this. I mean, I always say my mind's open to any possibility. I don't totally block anything out. That I would never be a proper... you know, science lover, you know, the real definition of science, if I closed my mind to anything. I mean, any kind of metaphysical things I don't really do. I've had lots of experience myself. I had, you know, from a child right up into my adulthood, a thing that they term sleep paralysis. They just give it this name and put it under an umbrella. But many aspects of times in my life I would leave my body. You know, I could see things in the room, I could see people in the room, I was having crazy, you know, second and third person perspective views on myself, you know.
You're quite witchy.
Yeah.
You are witchy, you're a wizard, and I know your older daughter, she's witchy as well. Your wife must be cool as hell. But I think there's a lot of it in that part of the world. Everybody's really intuitive, much more than they know. That's why this flat earth, open-minded discussion to the shape of the earth is taking off in Scotland, because Scottish people are hip to being bullshitted, and I don't know, there are strong people and independent people. So it's exciting. So your sister got into that, and you kind of like separated a bit ideologically on that stuff.
Yeah, well, I was off. Obviously, the broken home scenario, I was quite independent. So from like 14, 15, I was already like really breaking away. And then when I was 16, I took up an apprenticeship in mechanics and stuff. So my life wandered away, and I was trying to, you know, the same as everybody else. So I'm going to have a life with money and a house and holidays, and I'm going to achieve these things. And then, you know, that started to break down for me. I realised it was all bollocks, and it wasn't what it was cracked up to be. I was looking for answers that weren't there. So there was a real distancing happened from me and my sister, and it still is quite like that to this day, you know.
Oh yeah, there's a big distance between me and my family just over the moon landing, vaccines, Sandy Hook, all that other stuff. I haven't been home since I've been a flat earther, so it's gonna be fun. I'm gonna
Yeah.
videotape the whole lot, I tell you. Then if they're mean to me, it'll be on record. But and so you have an older daughter, is that right?
Yep.
And you have some young tackers.
Yep. I've got two daughters. One's 16 and one's 11. The two boys, one is 4.5, and the other one's just turning 10 months. So.
Oh wow, you'd be such a beautiful parent. I like the way you're a bit strict and a bit like you didn't even crack a smile when your 4-year-old came and asked for a plectrum the other day. I was like, Dell. But that's how my dad was, and I loved my dad. I still love my dad just for being the way he is and for following his own pursuits and thoughts independently. Like, as much
Yeah.
as I need to go and tear down my dad's evolution and Darwin worship next time I see him, if I see him, the I I have to acknowledge that he was tearing down Christianity when in the 1970s when I was a kid. He was watering the Seventh-day Adventists off our front lawn because he was like, get away with your bullshit, blah, blah, blah. And he was telling us kids, we came from apes. And then I'd go to religious class in just public school and I'd be like, we came from apes. And then so they gave me my own desk outside. So I've always been like that. And you're like that. And you're going to raise kids like that. And this is great. Now I want to know, how did you get so many cool flat earth friends? Like, the people who help you, Joan of Worms, Magoom, where'd you find these people? Marshall, Gav?
Well, Marshall, Magumba, I know personally in my own life. I play a bit of music with Magumba. Marshall, I had contacted me through some of the earlier days. I think it was Martin Leakey wanted me to, appear on his show. And it was being arranged, and then it never happened. And Marshall contacted me, and he was really polite and says, "Look, I'm really sorry about this. Sorry to have wasted your time." And I thought, this guy's, he's got manners and he's quite respectful. I quite like him, so we struck up some conversation, and then we started to discuss some of the tactics that are going on within this whole question. And we hit it off, and he's focused. He sees the games. He knows what's important and what's what's not important, and we struck it off from then, and it just continued on into the live stuff, and that was it. Jonah Worms was the same. That was a commenter who was always articulate and seen the games and could respond well to it. So it just kind of naturally happened.
It's amazing how you can love the energy of just a word on a screen. Like, I love Joan of Worms just from comments, and Magoom and Marshall. And Gav, how do you know Gav?
Gav came to me through John Smith. John Smith was the guy who came with me. He started videoing me doing the street activism stuff, and then obviously he kind of mirrored the format, and he went branched off and started doing his own. But I think he met him through a forum or something apparently. And says, this guy Gav, a Scottish guy, he's got the degrees in maths and physics, I think would be, keen to speak with him, and, I brought him over, and, the rest is kind of history,
You have a lovely friendship, and your friend Marty, he's funny too. Yeah, it's really beautiful. I thought you must have just ended up living in a lucky street of flat earthers or something, because actually there's one girl on the island here where I live who was a flat earther before me, and when I found out, I was like, hallelujah, Lord. I didn't know. I was like, how the hell? What? How? What? She's like a mother of a young baby boy, and she's a diving instructor, and I'm like, how the hell did you have time to find out? So it's good to know people like that. And, do you know any other people with qualifications, professionals with degrees like Gav? I don't know anyone.
Yeah, I know a few people with qualifications like that, yeah.
Yeah, like Glenn was saying on your recent podcast, they're going to have to start coming out of the woodwork, these people.
Yep, that's it. I knew that. I think the common ground had to be made. You have to, make a stance, and if you keep shouting well enough, and I was deliberate, going to these universities, to try and put a bit of pressure on to let them know that we are there, and they became aware because we would go to another university and people would recognise you. So I knew that it had worked. You speak to students there, they're going to speak to lecturers, they're then going to speak to other lecturers, they're going to start discussing it because obviously it's not going away. And that's exactly it. I think building a base and them knowing that there's a community of people there, I think they would then start to feel a bit more at ease. They wouldn't be as out in the cold or exposed, if you like.
Yeah.
So hopefully now that that's been built up and it's spreading, that these people will start coming forward.
Okay, so we're gathering a lot of good, honest, regular, common people around, and that's a fantastic thing. And we're also getting infiltrated by the government agents. I mean, they are government agents. They don't work for private companies, do they? Ultimately, they work for some faction of the government. How they can even show their faces when people even are questioning them is beyond me. I would be scared to leave the house if I was one of those people.
Yeah. Well, listen, I think there's as many of them who don't show face, and I think for good reason, But I realised that very early on, especially in Facebook, there was these organised groups, and I could see them in the anti-vaccines, the chemtrails, the flat Earth. They were creating these groups, and they were calling themselves badgers, the badger groups, and claiming to have affiliations. They would call themselves bullying badgers, so they were claiming to have affiliations with like Oxford.
They're the worst boys, yeah.
But it seemed to me that it was a lot of people who had investment or family investment in certain practices and stuff who had something to protect, So they're prominent, and anybody who understands this is a huge thing, So if anybody doubts that there's going to be any kind of government involvement in it, they really need to give themselves a fucking shake and come to the real world,
I discovered all these kind of controlled opposition groups from 9/11 onwards, and they are definitely in the vaccine movement, but there has never been anything like this. I would have said at times in the last 2 years, there's double the number of agents than genuine content makers. Like, there's probably 20 times those science reappraisers than there are agents. But the agents are forced to make content and regularly, and that must be part of them getting paid. You got to make a video every day or every week or every whatever. So that's part of their contract. But they do stand out like dog's balls, and one way they stand out is how much they avoid you. Like a lot of them just act like your show doesn't exist, like there's nothing going on, like you haven't done any of these great street interviews, like activism's not that important as long as we can raise some money and put it into a billboard. These people just act like you don't exist. This is very curious to me.
Yeah, it's because they know that I'm strong and what I'm saying is the actual truth. You talk about agency involvement, government involvement. They have these people who are professing to be on one side of the fence and on the other side of the fence. The thing that they don't like about me is that when it comes to this is a question for natural science. It's about what is objectively true. Objective reality doesn't have two sides to it.
Yes.
So these people who constantly play out this narrative of us against them and the false dichotomy, you get me in the middle saying, well, why are you even calling it a debate?
I love that.
Well, objective reality, you don't debate it. You don't debate whether or not fire is going to burn you.
Yeah.
You can only debate an idea, an ideology.
Giving me goosebumps, Del.
Yeah.
But it's true. That is the spiritual truth, that it's either or. It's not wishy-washy. You choose where you want to believe. And my truth is it's a fucking spinning triangle. No, we're here with natural scientific observations that are repeatable and testable to determine where we are. And what an amazing time to be alive, Del. Like, I don't even have enough money really to go to bloody Guatemala right now, but I feel like there is a lot of exploration to come. I feel like worlds have to crumble first. I feel like
Yeah.
hopefully somehow nature might help because it doesn't seem to be crumbling fast enough.
But that's the same as me. I'm impatient, but you know that's why, as you said, you know there's so much attention from government agents involved in this because they know that this is the one piece that holds everything together. And anybody who's been through that realization understands that because that's the psychological mechanism. You can question everything. You can question evolution and Big Bang, and you can have debates and arguments and stuff like that, as long as you're never thinking there's anything else other than this wee globe. You know. Because that for me is the main thing. If that goes, you're then into other avenues of contemplation. Like, well, wait a minute, my thinking's changing here. You know, I'm not in this little finite, delicate ball floating through the infinite vacuum of space. There's something bigger going on here. You know.
Yeah, and it is a kind of a stage, and we are kind of on it, and it is kind of the center of a cosmos of our own. That's pretty profound. Like, I always thought I was special, and I always thought everyone was special. Retarded people, rapists, murderers, saints, sinners, librarians. I really believe everyone is special and doing their best. Honestly, even the worst satanic kitty fucking eating, blood drinking, child rooting, whatever. I really believe that is where their soul is at and needs to be at, and because everything ultimately is a recyclable thing, that everything will move out of whatever it's in into something good or bad again and again and again. So that is maybe it's called New Age, but it's also, to me, it's scientific, it's observable, it's repeatable, it's testable. And especially because I've had like a feeling of connecting with the dead when they're dead and still getting a kind of a life out of it.
Well, that was part of my journey. A huge part of it, you know, as well, was the mind-body stuff, you know, in philosophy. What is it why do we have this question in mind? Why are we even aware of ourselves? You know, what is this experience that I'm having? And I've got a kind of different opinion there. You know, you're saying about, you know, these different souls or whatever you want to call them. For me, I kind of recognise, well, certain people just have an essence to them, and that essence was there, and it was always there, you know. And it's. I don't think it will change. You know, I just think that is what the rest is.
That's so interesting. Like I know someone in my life who, ever since he was a little boy, he was like a dark, angry, ugly, racist old man. Even when he was like 3-4 years old, he had a nasty character. But I don't know who he was around or who had maybe put it into him, or if it was just him. He never changed either. Like, he's an adult now and he's still the same. So it's so interesting. I mean, it's possible both.
It's a difficult thing. It's just like you try to analyse and see, are they a product of their environment? Was there something that went on that made them that way? And you know, there's different ways of looking at it. But I can remember kids, you know, and you still see kids with these, you know, this essence, this nastiness, or a loving child, or a cruel child, or, you know, for me there just seems to be a certain essence that you have, and whether or not that can adapt and change, you know, if you're talking about a psychopathic, murderous type essence, could they eventually become somebody like I consider myself, compassionate and understanding and empathetic? I mean, I don't know whether that's just what they are, you know.
Well, when I listen to stories of like people who say they've been through satanic ritual abuse and seen murders and been raped, and they are now fighting for other people, that amazes me. But it would also amaze me if they went on and committed the crimes like 80% of the people in that world do go, like, get folded right back in and continue the cycles, and then some of them do get out. So it's so interesting, and it's really not anything I can put my finger on, I suppose.
Well, that's just the whole question: is it nurture or nature? You know, I mean, that's what it boils down to. You know, are they just born that way, or is it, you know, the circumstances that help to feed it, and they become that through circumstance? It's still one of these things. It's, for me, is an ongoing investigation. Nobody really has any answers for it, you know.
Yeah, I know. So, are you going to? Are you interested? What do you think we can do about exploring the world from, like, sitting in our armchairs at home? What do you think we could do to, like, because I don't trust anyone. I wouldn't trust anyone to go look at anything for me and bring me back any information.
No, unless it's total transparency, without anything being left out and it's open. I mean, that's the problem. For me, my whole push is, like, I realise, look, the only way we're ever going to answer any of these things, to get rid of religions, to get rid of the ideologies, to get rid of, maps and models about where we are, the only logical place you can arrive at is we need full exploration. We need unrestricted access to everywhere on Earth, and we need people who are aware of this question and who are willing to put up funds, materials, boats, aeroplanes, things that can, help us to answer the question.
I think we're going to have to get women to do it, because the only men are already compromised by the army, the military, the Freemasons, some bum-rumping, back-scratching club. Like, we need, like, passion fruit sponges and, like, a women's collective to go. I don't know, women just aren't interested. They'd be like, it's cold.
I could get, what's the word, conspiratorial and, probably cause a bit of a stir. Because just like you said, these men, well, in my experience in life, some of the most highly manipulative people I've ever met have been women. So it's that whole bait and distract. We're all looking at men and blaming them when really it could be women that's behind all this,
Nice fucking try. No fucking chance. Women are too busy doing practical shit. I'm just not a normal woman, so I'm available for this crap. So what we're going to do is fucking sit around, argue and wait until something changes. I don't know what, this eclipse might show us something.
Well, it may do. There seems to be some anomalies with it, and there's a bit of arguing back and forward, and NASA and these agencies seem to be trying to fudge their numbers and find explanations.
And make unrealistic shadow sizes, going the wrong directions potentially in some, but you don't know who made the videos, so you can't tell.
Yeah, well, this is it. Well, you can only go by their claim, and that's what I encourage everybody to do. Treat claims and assess them through a natural science method and a Socratic method of questioning in order to establish what is actually truthful and what is not. But you can see, NASA have already released, a video where they're trying to give an explanation for this upcoming eclipse because of the anomalies. But people need to hold them accountable for that. Well, no, wait a minute. You told us for a fact this was the way reality was, and now you're trying to change things. So I'm like you. I'm looking at this and hoping that it's a trigger for it to go to the next level. Where people are going, wait a minute, something's not right here.
Yeah, people en masse. I just read an article the other day saying that a lot of school kids in America, in Texas or some state like that, are really questioning their teachers because of their favorite basketball player, Kyrie Irving. So I think it'd be a hard time to be a teacher.
Yeah.
Kids are able to learn off the internet. I didn't even really start getting an education until I got onto YouTube. That sounds like a joke, but I've learnt so much in the last 10 years. Yeah.
It is. It's a great tool, and you hear this nonsense that they try and use. Oh, you've seen it on YouTube. Wait a minute. I can go to YouTube and I can learn any musical piece that I want. I can learn how to fix parts of an engine that I've never experienced before. I can learn languages. So because it's on YouTube, it's somehow is irrelevant. It's not the way it works. But you hear them trying to push that all the time. Oh, well, if you've seen it on YouTube, that's not proof of anything. That doesn't mean anything.
Everybody wants to defer to someone smarter. There's smarter people than us, and we have to trust them. And actually, one thing that's really amazed me in the last 2 years has been realizing how dumb so many of us actually really are and have been all our lives. I've had to concede that I've been sleeping on the job all day, every day of my life. To never question things like the moon's light, to never question the no parallax in the stars, to never question the reflection of the sun or moonlight over water, to never question things going over a curve on the water but not ever going over a curve on the land. You know, so many things we just never looked at, and not meant just me. All the
Yeah.
men who finished their degrees at the university, you know, all the men who got 2 degrees and 3 degrees. So it's so great to hear your friend Gavin with his double degree saying, I didn't even look at it till I was in my 40s, you know.
Yeah.
Because it
That's
is, sorry?
No, I'm just agreeing. That's it.
It's a rising up of our collective consciousness. Now, I know we're talking, I mean, you and Gavin were talking in the last excellent episode where Gavin gave a little lecture about the basic principles, the founding principles that we're going to talk from. I've forgotten what I was going to say then. Oh, it's totally lost it, sorry.
I'll come back to you.
Yeah, probably will.
Yeah.
No, but that was a really good episode. The founding principles that we all have to agree on to discuss the matter.
Yeah. As I say, they've used language against us. You know, they've employed sophism. You know, they really have went to town in order to push this narrative. As any cult or religious cult, you know, would have to do. You know, you're having to keep psychological and physical control of people. So you really need to understand them. You really need to understand the tools and the mechanisms in order to make it happen, you know. And as you've heard me saying many times, for me, you can see that with the removal of things like the trivium from, you know, the curriculum, the mainstream education, because they couldn't have people having a critical thinking mind, you know, and the ability to assess, you know, information and what they were being told. They had to remove that so that they could then instill their narratives and their stories and push it in a way where you would just never question it. You know, and we are testament to that. You know, people like us, Gav, the same. You know, you just become so blinkered. You're born into it. You've got a propensity to want to trust authority and those above you, your peers. You just take all this stuff on board, and it becomes an assumption that you've never really questioned. As I say, I was never invested in it. I don't think Gav. Well, Gav, maybe he was a bit more invested in it. He thought he knew it. And then, that's it. You start to realise these things, and when you start to actually question it properly, you see how paper thin it is, you know?
It's interesting. I see through so much of it now, but I still have this little thing in the back of my mind, like when I hear you say curved water over a globe, and you know how ridiculous it is, how the water must run one direction or another, if there's up, if there's down, and all that. But that word gravity just comes to your mind, and you're just like, oh, yeah, gravity holds every part of it to the center, you know? And it's like, I'm going to let myself take 20 years if I need to let that stuff shut up, because it's been 40 for something years that I've been conditioned. So it's okay if, you know, you keep coming back to those things that have been hammered into you. And what you see is that they're like the establishment. They're like hammering down moles. Anyone that sticks their head up with a question, there's an instant way to shut that person up or that person up or that person up. But what this realization or this reappraisal of science has been about is everybody actually doing their own tests, you know, hearing, oh, moonlight has its own properties, and then going to measure it. And thinking about things like doing an experiment with a light globe on a ball and how the shadow doesn't go across. And, you know, it's taken me so long.
Yeah, I mean, that again is part of my understanding. You know, people run along, you know, like examples that you're giving, but I always come back to the base things as I always try to encourage people. Look, you have to break down every single claim into its constituents, you know, its parts, and then analyse them and see, well, we're talking about natural science, and the only way for us to agree on things is to, you know, make sure it's natural science, but it's stuff you can test, observe, and repeat. You know, so straight away, you know, we're talking about globes and we're talking about water and blah, blah. You know, the globe doesn't even have an actual model. It's a fucking plastic toy. You know, so people are running away trying to, you know, argue about these, and you bring it back. Well, wait a minute, we're talking about a plastic fucking toy here.
We can't even make a model with a magnetic core that holds the water down in a vacuum in the best laboratory on earth. We cannot do a spinning globe which holds water to it. And I always say to people, have you got a washing machine? You know, it's that simple.
Yeah, it's simple physics, it's simple mechanics, it's everyday experience and observations, and that's the point. You know, natural science requires you, the observer. It's not like you need a PhD in order to assess the world you're now living in. The very thing about natural science is you taking control of your life, you assessing it. Me saying, by the way, Elissa, I found that fire, burns. Fire is hot. Can you take that and test it and see what you find? And then you're going to go and you go, yeah, I concur. That's melting my skin. Right. Okay, so we know these things are objectively true. We've established it because we have actual substance to measure. But when you go to some of these narratives, they're just fables. They're stories without any actual anything to reference practically. You don't see water curving around objects. You don't see shapes displayed on the surface of water. We use it in construction. We've used it for thousands of years. It's something that's factual. It's objectively true. We can depend upon it. So I don't care what images and videos you bring me or how complex your stories are. If it doesn't match this practical, simple thing that we can all test and observe, you're talking shit.
That is the best thing.
People need to take that power back, and stick to that. Stop wandering off into this. It must be complicated, therefore I need a priest to figure it out for me. As soon as you go there, you're asking for corruption,
Ha! You are so right. Oh, that's what I love about your show. That's why I tune in as often as I can, because you constantly bring it back to that. And anybody's allowed to call in, and as soon as they try and bring some sophist argument or some trick or something, they try to fucking trick you, you're like sniffing them out like it's too quick. And it's joy to watch. Because I know if I was in your seat, I'd be like fooled half the time, and the other half the time I'd like accept the other person's authority because they're probably smarter than me or whatever. But I love the fact you're just like, no, fuck off, next, fuck off, next. And it's beautiful.
Yeah. Well, people have to take that back. You had it as a child, everybody had it. As I keep using that, somebody comes along and say, pink unicorns are real. You better show me your fucking pink unicorn or I'm going to rip the piss out of you for telling fucking lies. And everything in reality should be like that, and people need to take that attitude, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Yeah, a guy posted on my Facebook yesterday, like, well, if you don't believe in Darwinism and evolution, what better suggestion do you have? It's like, you know what? It's okay not to know, dude. It's okay to say, I don't know. I don't fucking know. But I'm not going to promote the bum-rumping Freemasons bullshit, fucking survival of the fittest. Dogs do not eat dogs. I don't know if you've ever met a dog, but fuck. I'm not going with that crap anymore.
No, you're quite right.
Well, it's, a large part of me having this strength is having a friend like you out there showing us how it's done. So keep it up.
I certainly will. It's so important, it's just so important to me and, anybody that I care about, and anybody who cares about, the questions of who we are, why we're here, what is life, it should be important to them as well,
Now, I know this is crazy conjecture, but I wonder where we'll be in 10 years. I think this is moving fast, and some big change is going to really, really happen within a year or two. It's just growing, and it's every day. And once you know it, it's every day for you, all day. But the people who don't even know it yet, it's coming at them every day. They have to say ignore, ignore, ignore more and more times every day to keep ignoring it.
Yep. It's that, they've got so many delusions and so many distractions there to keep them occupied, whether it be a career or family or your hobby, whatever it is. People are invested in these things, and, some people just live, what we would maybe class as a privileged life where there's never really any reason to question anything. They're quite happy, things have been easy, straightforward for them, so they just think, they're in their little bubble and they're quite content with that. There's so many complexities to this thing,
Yeah, it is. It's weird being one of the very few people who are not just interested, but now more than interested. Like, I have new knowledge and need to share that knowledge, feel obliged. And it is a very small group, like it's cool at the moment in a sense. It is going to grow massively, and it's going to be wonderful to look back and say, yeah, I was there then, like I was awakening at that time. I often used to say to my mum and dad, like, what were you doing when all the hippies and the war protests were on? And mum was like, on her way to work in a twin set suit, getting pushed up against the glass by the anti-war protesters. And she was all angry at them because, you know, she got pushed out of her on her way to work. And it's kind of like, wow, everybody's got their thing that they've got to do.
Well, you've heard that saying, you know, people are so hopelessly enamoured and, you know, almost like Stockholm syndrome to this whole structure, that it's not really the governments or the powers that be that are the problem. It's trying to get it through to, you know, everyday people like us who are just in a different headspace, who don't see it. And these are the very people that don't want that world dropped. They're quite happy just to keep continuing on. And those are the ones that will cause the problem, you know. Whereas if you can just, you know, maybe help them to see and have a wee change of attitude, that there's something bigger, you know, that would make a huge difference.
Yeah,
you know?
even if they don't have the time to explore it, to at least be friendly towards those of us who are willing to be the pioneers of thinking differently.
Yeah. That's why I say to people before some of the interviews, you know, do you trust government? You know, just to get them to say that out, you know, no. Well, where do you draw the line then? Well, no, if somebody's lying to you, they're lying to you. So then, you know, you start to bring this in because people are very quick to pick and choose and cherry pick. Well, I don't trust the government, but then you say, well, they're lying to you about where you live. No. You know, you go, of course they are. Well, prove to me that it's a globe then without using any government agency or their images and their videos. You can't, you know. But it's incredible to watch, so that's why I always put that up first of all, so that you can get them on it and they can never keep reverting back. You say, well, you just told me you don't trust the government. Now you want to cherry pick and pull out bits that you do think the government are telling you the truth on. I mean,
that was a big eye opener for me when I saw my first independent high altitude camera footage. I was like, oh, how come I've never seen this before? How come I've never seen a sun with a hot spot? That sun is not 93 million miles away. Who even came up with the figure 93 million?
Yeah.
What does a million miles look like? You know, like when it's a shiny object far away. How can you tell? Like, so it's a beautiful time to be reappraising science. Hey, Del.
I mean, it's...
Sorry. Go. No,
I
go.
was going to say, it's an incredible time. I mean, for me, reality is much more fascinating, mystical and magical than the stories that you've been fed and led to believe. You know, and if people, I try and package it like that for people and make it exciting for them, you know, I mean, look, you're in a time now where you're alive and you're questioning reality, and, you know, people are fed these imaginative ideas about fairy tales, far off lands and blah, blah, you know, and life's just this, you know, delicate wee rock that's empty and sad, and you know, you're actually in something that's actually special here and magnificent. Yeah. Let's pull together and find out exactly what it is, you know,
and why we're here.
What else might be out there?
Yeah,
you know?
It's like it's so obvious that the creator of this must have been loving. But it is also so obvious that the deception around this is coming from such an unloving place. It's really amazing dichotomy to be picking apart.
I would have to disagree. You know, I don't know if you've heard me having these discussions with people, you know.
I know, all the kids getting killed and raped and murdered, it's hell. But
it's not just that. It's not just that. You know, we're fed these mantras that life, you know, is special. Mother Earth and life's special. It's a gift and it's blah, blah, blah. But really, we don't have a full picture of whether or no this is a special gift or no. And if I analyse it, if I take humans out of the equation, never mind, you know, kids and, you know, humans, if I just look at the overall nature of this reality, what is it really? You know, things are here.
Fucking magic. It's like prawns and starfish and seahorses.
But what's their existence?
We just don't know, Del, what they do in their caves.
Well, that's it.
But it's so beautiful.
Well, that is it. But, you know, if you're trying to trick... If I postulate to you that we are souls having an experience, or if you believed in that kind of thing, then I always, you know, say to people, well, what if it's like a Hansel and Gretel type scenario here? And it's, oh, look at the beautiful house with all the candy, and it's lovely, and things have got lovely coats, and then you get in there and it's an absolute fucking horror show.
Yeah, it is. And people often say it's a trap we keep coming back through, so That's potential. Maybe I'm just trying to like cheer myself up. It's potentially true.
Well, I don't feel like negativity when I discuss these things, or
No.
a posture that it could be something that's not as what people profess as a special, lovely thing. I don't feel in my heart or inside, oh, doom and gloom. I know who I am, and that's what's important to me. You know, I know what makes me tick, you know, and I care about the sentient beings that I'm sharing the experience with. In regards to the actual material reality, I don't hold it in any regard whatsoever. You know, I'm very cautious until I understand exactly what this place is before I invest, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I can see that you are a really, oh God, I'm going to sound like Einar Kusk talking to Patricia Steer here. I can see that you're a really cool and loving person, even though you're, you're angry and sad as well about all the crap and the inhumanity and all of that. So that's okay. I think that you don't really judge. I think that honestly you just observe. You can look at it all, good and the bad, and you don't get too emotionally swayed one way or the other. And that's probably quite a philosophical, old soul kind of way to be, maybe.
Well, it's the most cautious and easiest position to be in, you know, is not to judge and not to make any commitments to thinking you know. We should have learned that lesson by now. If this teaches you anything, it's not to assume that you think you know, you know. I'm always questioning.
That was the one thing that bloody made me have to look at this stupid flat earth theory, was that I kept hearing myself say all the same crap that my family would say to me about looking into 9/11, like, well, I don't care if the buildings were brought down by fires or, So it's been, that's what made me realize, I've been wrong every other time, so why not be wrong this time as well?
Yep, that's it. And it's sad that people have that attitude. It's like, an analogy is people are in a tennis court and, they've been told that they're in a football field and they're trying to play football their whole lives, and it doesn't make any sense. And for me, it's the fundamental. If you don't know where you are, you don't know the game, you don't know the rules, anything that you tell yourself about a life, whether it be a career or whatever it is you're involved in, for me it's a delusion. If you don't have that fundamental part, that component of knowing where exactly you are, then what is your life? It's just a delusion, it's a fantasy, it's something that it's a substitute.
And that's just for the average person. They train people's minds to be super soldiers, to stop themselves bleeding, to run twice as fast. Like, with training, what the mind can do, what our minds could have done with our own lives and with this whole earth, if we'd been free from the start, from this control structure, it wouldn't even be the same world. It would literally be a magical fairyland of Disney fun. But I don't mean like... But, like if we had free electricity, if we weren't all starving and competing with this fake money being given to us... And I hope in our lifetimes, Del, that for our efforts we get rewarded to see a big change in our lifetimes. Because, the only way you can change it is you've got to see the potential first, and that's what I see you doing.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm aiming for, and I think that the people who are coming round to this, they're aiming for the same thing, And just as you say, I have that thought, why was life never a creative expression? I expect to see colour and individuality and creativity everywhere I walk being different. Like just to see a big play park full of fun rather than this, depressing narrative that we have right now.
Every wall should be a canvas. Every person should be an artwork. Imagine how, it's just, I hope we get to... And if not, I hope we get to see after we're dead.
Hopefully. As I say, I have my own opinions on that, what is this I? What does it mean to be conscious? Does it live on? And I say that to people many times, if you look at yourself as a child, there seems to be a separation, because if you were just the body and your consciousness was just a product of the material, who is it that's learning how to use the body? Who is it that's questioning and having this internal dialogue? Why would the body have to have an internal dialogue or even any, what we call experience? It just wouldn't have to be there. The fact that you have to learn how to use fingers and hands and
Yeah.
You know, if you're just a machine, why does the machine have to learn how to operate itself? I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't make any sense, you know. So for me, there is a separation.
The smallest thing can be a proof. Like once in my life, when I was about 22, and this is totally subjective, but I'm going to share it. I was waiting on a letter. I wrote a letter to the Red Hot Chili Peppers, so there was a lot of emotional investment. And I was waiting on a return letter. I wrote to them and asked them for $10,000 so that my friend and I could go busking. And I was sure that they were going to send us $10,000 because I was really gullible when I was young. Anyway, I was waiting on this letter every day, and then one night I had a dream that the postman met me on the front step and handed me a letter, and I knew it was from them because it had airmail around the outside. And then I looked at the stamp, and it was a lady in an air cap, an aviation cap, and I was like, oh, Amelia Earhart. And I looked closely at the stamp in my dream, and it said some other lady's name who I'd never heard of. And then the next day I was on my veranda and the mailman came, gave me a pile of letters, and on the top there was one with the airmail, and I was like, oh, it must be the Red Hot Chili Peppers. And then I saw the stamp and I was like, oh, Amelia Earhart. And then I was like, ugh, like deja vu, like I dreamt this stamp and it's not her name and it's the same name. So that showed me just once, I've had a couple of other subtle experiences, just showed me that our minds can see things that are physical when our eyes aren't looking at them.
Yeah.
If we have enough emotional connection.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think it's drummed out is from a young age, you know?
Oh, it is, absolutely. That's what school is for and all the rest. Yeah.
It comes down to the fundamentals. We have two choices, you know, either, you know, life is an accidental happening, you know, but for me, we don't ever see any, witness any of these things. For me, life came from mind. Mind was the forefront. It's life, mind that produces what we call life and experience, you know.
That's how they teach in the East, is first there is the spirit, and the spirit needs to express itself emotionally, so it has an emotional creation, and then that creates the physical. Whereas in the West, we're taught, oh, you've got an egg and a sperm, and they meet, and they make a meat body, and if that meat body's a bit gay, then it has emotions, and if it's really gay, then it creates some imaginary god, you know, or spirituality to itself. And that's how they control us all. That's really it. We are super powerful, magical creatures. Like, we really are. But at the same time, we can be so hopeless and whatever.
No, I think that's just a result of the position we're in right now. As I say, removing the psychological foundation, the knowing of where we are, who we are and why we're here. For me, that would have been a natural progression that we would have always had, and something's happened somewhere along the line where that's been severed, and we're now in a state of bewilderment, disempowerment, you know, we've got amnesia, and all these things that we see happening in life right now are all a result of that.
It's post-traumatic stress from killing all the witches, all the herbalists, all the left brain, I mean all of the good side, the feminine energy that was in opposition to the control of the church. And like you said, they're still in control today. Yep. Anyway, it's so depressing to think about how the feck we're going to get to where we're going. But
I don't think about that. I just know that I get my head down. I know what my goals are and I know what has to be done, you know. And as I keep saying to people, there is no book to reference in regards to this. There's nothing that you can say about, well, this is where we need to head for, because it's unprecedented. For me, it's never happened before.
Even 100 years ago or whatever, when the William Carpenters, the Lady Blunts were having dinner parties and cucumber sandwiches and discussing this, they didn't have the potential that we have right now through internet, there's a real potential right now to make this, I think it is just going anyway. But I'm just glad to see you doing what you do, putting your head down, and I'm so glad to see all the people around you committed to it as well. I think I should let you go soon, so if you want to add anything else, feel free.
Just, you know, for anybody who's interested or looking at this thing, you know, be a direct realist. take control of your life. Don't look to externally to some higher power. We're talking about objective reality, and for me, if we want to establish again where we are and who we are and what life's about, we have to have that exploration, because for me the key is out there. If it's something that we can discover, if people think about this, we're being psychologically and physically constrained. Now, if there's nothing else to discover, there's nowhere else to go, there's nothing magical or anything to realise out there, you wouldn't have any real need for any of these things. But the fact of the matter is that we do. So for me, it's hugely important, and people need to take control of their lives back. Stop listening to hearsay. Stop listening to straw man stuff in regards to flat Earth, like pizza dishes in space, or ice walks, or any of these things that have not been fully established yet. And just come back to a realist stance. Look at the claim. Focus purely on the claim, which is a globe. That's what you were born into. You focus on that. You try and prove that to yourself. Verify it or falsify it. Take those measures and steps. Never mind flat Earth. Just try and prove to yourself first and foremost that it actually is a globe. And then from that, you will realise that you don't know where you are. And then when you realise that, you can then come to the table with the rest of us, which is a good experience. It's not scary. That's science, to be able to say you don't know. Then we can have progress. And the more people we can get in that position, the better. So that's pretty much it.
Oh, Del, you're a really, really welcome voice in this new wilderness, and I know you never want to be held on a pedestal, because you are just a normal bloke, but I actually think you're really funny, and your show's worth watching just because you're so entertaining, so honest. That I mean, I'm a big fan of Parky, but you are so much more real and better than Parky. It's like Parky for the new world. One true show. And it's at the same time we're getting a scientific education. Yeah. So thanks for all that you do, and I'll see you on the show. And for anybody who's watching, tune into Del's channel, Beyond the Imaginary Curve. And thanks for having an interview with me, Del.
That's a pleasure. Thanks for your time.
My pleasure. I'll see you out there in the world.
Yeah, keep at it.
Ciao.
Be easy.